There's a button on the bottom. I didn't say you were dumb.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I call this meeting to order at 11:05 a.m. Vice President.
AM.
I said a.m.
I know.
Director of Internal Affairs. Here. Director of Finance.
Here.
Director of Outreach. Here. Director of Legislative Affairs.
Here.
Director of Student Technology, absent excused. Approval of the agenda.
I motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved by Mariah, seconded by Ben. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Approval of the minutes. There are two sets of minutes that we have to approve.
So we need to approve what, last week's and the week before?
Yeah. They are the,
Was it the 22nd minutes?
Should be the 22nd.
the 22nd and the
15th?
8th.
Oh, the 8th.
I motion to approve April 8th's meeting notes.
Is there a
Minutes.
second?
I second.
Moved by Mariah, seconded by Ben. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Approval of 4/22 minutes.
I motion to approve the minutes for April 22nd.
Is there a second?
I second.
Moved by Ben, seconded by Alicia. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Now is the time for public comment. Welcome and thank you to those members of the public who are present in this meeting today. This segment of the meeting provides the Executive Board an opportunity to hear new concerns and new perspectives on current issues relating to the UW-Tacoma student body. The Executive Board will neither discuss nor debate topics raised in public comment. This is not because we don't value commenters' perspectives, but to ensure any related action is taken transparently before a duly notified public at a future meeting. However, directors may ask clarifying questions of those giving public comment or request to meet to gain further insight after the meeting. In addition, ASUWT is committed to fostering a constructive environment and respectful environment in these meetings. As such, we kindly ask that all remarks made during public comment reflect professionalism, respect, and come from a place of mutual understanding that we are all here to advocate on behalf of students. With that, I begin public forum, in which we have our two advisors here and two members of the public. Is there anything you guys want to say? I know you're on the agenda, Stefan, but if there's anything additional?
Nothing additional that I'd like to say.
Okay. Nothing from Sam? Cool. All right. Moving down the agenda to unfinished business, and then which we have none, to new business, which we have the new student enrollment and orientation fee presentation. Stefan, if you can, just for the people who are watching online, to make sure that you speak clearly into the microphone so everything can be heard.
Awesome. Thank you, ASUWT members. So what I'm going to talk about is the NSCOF. I'll also be referencing what the new name of this fee will be called as well throughout the conversation. So just keep a note of that as well. And so I'm basically going to just give you an update on the particular fee as it stands right now, and then also what we're looking to do for an increase this year in line with what Seattle and Bothell are both doing as well. So I'll jump right into it. So just to give you a general purpose, who the Student Advisory Committee is for the NSCOF is just increasing more of the voice of students, giving students a platform to understand where their funds are going, especially as they're confirming into UW-Tacoma, and meet throughout the year to discuss what the actual budget looks like, who are the people that are receiving funds from this particular budget, and then thinking about what are some of the gaps in service that students are facing as they enter the university, and then even beyond that as well. Keeping in mind primarily that this fee is primarily for first-year students or new students that are coming into the university as a one-time fee. And so where we currently sit is $250 as a mandatory one-time fee. In comparison to Bothell and Seattle, we've always been behind in this matter. 14 years running, we've been over $200 behind both other campuses for a very long time. 10 years, we were at $100. And so this fee has been increased incrementally over the last 4 or 5 years, 4 years. And so really thinking about how do we serve the students that are coming into the campus, and utilizing their voice to understand what's missing. And then also where can we add value to the programs that we already have for orientation in particular, but then also some of the other offices and student employee positions that we also help fund. Okay, so this is just a snapshot of where the money typically goes. Most of it is to orientation programs and PAC advisors who are also funded by this particular fee, as well as myself and my staff. So that's 3 professional staff and 8 student staff. And then we also help pay for other programs on campus. And so I'll run through some of those in a moment, but that just gives you a quick visual snapshot of where the particular money goes that students pay. So some of the funded initiatives that the NSCOF goes to currently, the Office of Global Affairs, UAA, so Student Advising Mentors specifically, the Child Care Assistance Program, helping to reimburse some of those child costs of students that are parents, also helping with the orientation of that program as well. We have funds that go towards convocation, and then we also have NSCOF funds that go to affinity welcomes that the Center for Equity and Inclusion currently puts on quarterly. And then I wanted to just frame, most of you have been through an orientation of some sort, right? But I wanted to just frame what orientation does and what its purpose is, and ultimately just facilitating the transition, prepping students or preparing them for their time at UW-Tacoma, and then thinking about their social, right, intellectual curiosity, looking at the institution as itself, where do they fit in? And then also we support families and friends. That's a new name that we're kind of changing for our family orientation, because there are so many community members as part of a family that we can't just label it as family, right? And so that's another phase that we're changing. And so that's really the purpose of orientation, is to really help students understand their value at the university, and then also connect them to a lot of the various resources like yourselves, for instance, that can help them think about how they can be a success, but also how are they learning more about the space and place that they're going to be in for maybe 2, 3, or 4 years. And then just to give you some more context about the orientation framework, it's a year-long process. So all of the funds from the NSCOF go through this for a whole process, a year-long process, starting in summer. So we're right now in the phase of looking at the fall 25 students and getting ready to start messaging for those students. We also do winter orientations. We also do spring orientations. So as you can tell, it never stops. And that's by design. And so we're always thinking about how do we reinforce the information that students are getting at orientation, partnering with other groups on campus where we're providing, whether it be food or different giveaways, or providing opportunities for students to learn more about finances, learning more about how do you connect with your advisor, how do you connect with your faculty members a little bit more. So all of that, the NSCOF pays for a lot of those opportunities for students. And we're constantly reinforcing messages because timeliness is everything in the work that we do. And then this is just kind of an organizational overview of the orientation and how it's governed. Student Affairs obviously is overseeing it, and then Enrollment Services. So my department that I oversee new student programs, we moved into Enrollment Services a year and a half ago. And so still getting acclimated to the space where admissions currently is. And so we're partnering, we're actually part of admissions now in that sense. So now we've added, under my portfolio, I've now added the Welcome Center as part of my managing portfolio. So a lot of those prospective students and families that we'll see that have confirmed that orientation, we'll actually see them a lot sooner now. And so we're looking at how does the budget actually fit into that, if possible. because we're operating on two different budgets now. And then the PAC advisors and their PACs are really there to help students throughout the school year develop a sense of belonging, develop a sense of identity in terms of the type of organizations and groups that they want to be a part of, helping them connect to those folks. And then also just remaining as near peers on campus and supporting other programs and events that pop up that they can help send out to their particular PACs via email, whether it be through Instagram or other means of communication that they're working through. And so a lot of the work that goes into not only orientation, but also the reinforcement comes from the PAC advisors and their training throughout the summer. So a lot of that NSCOF funds goes toward that in their training. In previous years, we had 10 PAC advisors. In 2018, the NSCOF Student Advisory Council decided to scale back to 8. And that was because it promoted an opportunity to help other organizations and other groups on campus with the funding, which you saw earlier on the list. So more of the governing, there's a student advisory council and advisory committee that looks at the orientation and the philosophy of what orientation looks like, how it's being administered. And then there's an actual logistics group that is the day-to-day planning of events. And then we have an orientation collective, which has been dormant for about a year because of the shift and move to enrollment services. So I'm looking to start that back up to have people more informed about what orientation looks like, what role they play in the process, and then also how we can partner moving forward in the future. And then this is just a calendar overview. So this year, as a note, the board, we're presenting to the Board of Regents next month, actually next week. That timeline got moved up this year as opposed to previous years. And so as I mentioned earlier, we're asking for a fee increase. That increase is we're asking for a 20% increase, which will then get us up to 300. And so I also mentioned earlier that the fee is changing to enrollment confirmation deposit. So that's a tri-campus initiative that is changing, that has already taken effect. And so we're in the process of kind of scrubbing a lot of the NSCOF jargon everywhere and changing it to enrollment confirmation deposit. And so the reason behind a lot of the asking for an increase this year is, one, trying to stay in lockstep or in line with Seattle and Bothell, but also thinking about keeping our staff maintained where we are so we don't lose not only student staff, but we also don't lose professional staff as well, because we are in a climate where budgets are getting cut in a lot of ways. And so one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we're proposing, not only with Seattle and Bothell in terms of an increase, but also thinking about, we have so many different gaps on our campus that Seattle and Bothell don't necessarily garner. And so we're looking at multiple levels of connecting with faculty in the classroom, connecting with students through our new student survey that goes out within their online orientation process, so we can start a navigational process that PAC advisors are going to lead, working with faculty to build co-curricular activities for new students as they enter. So then we can use that as more of a tradition that happens for first year students. Mm-hmm. So what that looks like is new students come in through orientation, they develop identities within their PACs that will help them understand what their first year could look like. So how do you prepare for month one at UW-Tacoma? How do you prepare for your second quarter, et cetera? So we're building out a lot of that information that students are sharing with us, and trying to establish, whether it be video consultations from students or vlogs about the day in the life of a student as well. And so a lot of those things we're thinking about and partnering with IT and other different departments to really build that out a little bit more. And so if we're increasing it this year, we'll see $11,150 revenue for next year. That will then help us build this co-curricular opportunity for first-year students as they enter UW-Tacoma, while also keeping our staff in the fold, and we're not losing anyone. And we're keeping up with a lot of the resources that are needed for students at UW-Tacoma. And so what I have up here is just kind of some of the enhancements. The first year common co-curricular experience is the main thing. We're going to continue to help support affinity welcomes, our child care assistance program, global affairs fellows, convocation, as well as student advising mentors as part of university academic advising, because they've also come to depend on that support as well. And we do a lot of partnership throughout the entire school year. So it doesn't make sense for us to cut that funding from them, knowing that the support that we provide helps with their student staff, helps with their programming, as well as helps with the all throughout the year partnerships that we do with programs, whether it be for first year transfer students or thinking about continuing students that are part of different packs. I mentioned the 20% increase. We are presenting to the Board of Regents, I mentioned earlier, and that is because each of the campuses' percentage increases are very high. Bothell is asking to increase at 13.9%, Seattle at 14.9%, and us at 20%. While even at 20%, we're still going to be behind the other two campuses in terms of the enrollment confirmation deposit that students are going to pay every year. So the other thing that comes up as part of PAC Advisor training is a NASPA Certified Peer Educator program that we started 2 years ago. And last year we weren't able to do it because of the funding that we didn't have in order to support it throughout the summer. So this is also part of that ask, and for the training of PAC Advisors is to help them build more skills on being peer educators, not only about UW-Tacoma, but also thinking about their own skill development as they're thinking about roles after being PAC Advisors. And then I also mentioned the navigator model that PAC Advisors would be leading, and that's thinking about enhanced training, leadership, that's thinking about referral, about resources. So I mentioned to you the online orientation that's packed in, and the new student survey that's a part of it. So from that new student survey, we're going to dissect a lot of the responses that students are giving us around their academics. So what do you want to study? Are you interested in study abroad? Are you needing disability resources? And so pulling those students from that survey and the PAC Advisors using those as referrals to reach out to the different departments on campus so that those different departments don't have to sift through a large list of students. They're being referred to them immediately, and then they can do their outreach based on the referrals that PAC Advisors provide for them. Whether it be email or whether it be surveys or conversations, we're still working on what that could look like. And then also just the increased outreach to students, whether it be more tabling, whether it be more communication within the classrooms, especially thinking about core first-year students and thinking about transfer students in their first year, thinking about the continuation of PAC chats, which happened throughout the summer. We're wanting to do that throughout the entire year. So it's a way for students to not only think about, well, I know I have important dates that I need to be worrying about for winter quarter or spring quarter. What can I break those down into smaller chunks, right? Have I met with my advisor? If I haven't, why haven't I? What is the time frame that I need to do that? If I haven't already registered for my classes, why haven't I done that? What do I need to do in order to do that? We're also thinking about, we are going to have students work with the new registration tool as well, the UW.registration, which is a whole new system designed for students to register for classes. that's fairly new. And so helping, especially new students, understand how long that takes, how to utilize my UW in the right way, and how to build their class schedules in conjunction with UAA as well. So the Navigator model is very light right now in our proposal for it, but wanting to really build it out in a way that new students can have a voice and share that with the next group of students that are coming in with them. So for this works for 26. So then those first year students are building something for the class of 27, right? So we're really trying to help students own their education, but own how they show up and how they want to live through and after UWT. And so this just gives you just the first year co-curricular program about the what I was just talking about, how it would start, and then how it would end. So thinking about the different opportunities for social and academic, sense of belonging, building, we have multiple assets on this campus, this group being one of them. How do students know about it? How are we talking about it, especially at orientation? And even after orientation, how do we talk about it? How do we put it in the face of students early so that way it's not a last minute resort? Oh, I need to vote, or I need to know how do I get involved in it? It has to start a lot sooner. We're even thinking, how do we start it in the summer leading up to their first year, right? And so this is part of that that student development. This is part of that training. This is part of how do we get PAC advisors to own their work, and how do we sit back and let students lead a lot of this work after they're trained fully, and build their preparation. So that's kind of the end of everything. As I mentioned, this is something that we think is important. We don't have to have a particular vote from this group in order to move forward, but I think it is necessary that this group is well aware of what we're asking, as well as the impacts that it could have on students as they enter our enrollment, and then also students as they're starting at UW-Tacoma and the different opportunities that we may or may not have if the Board of Regents says, no, we're not moving forward with this.
May I ask why, after ASUWT has approved changes to this fee over years, but now we're deciding that ASUWT doesn't need to endorse any changes?
No, that's a good question. A lot of it has been because of how the design has been. Even in previous years, we didn't need a necessary approval of yes, we support it from ASUWT, but it was necessary for ASUWT to know this is what we're asking for, and it was necessary for ASUWT to have a say in terms of, well, what did students know about it? When did they know about it? And we agree to this, or we have some reservations. And so moving forward, I think that's based on the conversations that we have, the advisory committee, vice chancellor for student affairs. It hasn't been needed as we need to vote on this from ASUWT, even though we've had letters in the past that say ASUWT supports the fee increase.
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
So I think the first one is, who currently sits on this advisory council?
Yeah, so this year was a little bit tougher just because of me leading it. I had a lot of health concerns. So this year was a lot tougher. So we had two PAC advisors. PAC advisors have always served on this group, and two co-chairs. Typically, we have multiple students that were on the group, but this year it was only the two PAC advisors, only because of me not being present throughout most of the year.
And that's not concerning, given the power dynamic involved with that they're on an advisory committee and you're effectively their boss.
Yeah, no, I totally get the optics.
Yeah.
But we also, with the advisory committee, not only the student advisory committee, but the vice chancellor for student affairs, the orientation advisory committee, which I'm not a part of, also had a chance to work with them in my absence to talk through a lot of the things that
Is the orientation committee composed of students, or is that staff?
Both.
Both.
How many students?
There's two students.
too.
And are they also PAC advisors?
One is a student ambassador,
Okay.
and then the other, is just a general student, not official title.
And how many members of faculty are also sitting?
One,
staff.
two members
Or
of
staff,
faculty. Sorry, two members
Staff,
of the faculty are on that
Okay.
group as well.
And staff in general. Sorry, I misspoke. Yeah.
3 staff.
3 staff.
Mhm.
Okay. So, I mean,
I'm just thinking more about the student advisory committee, and I understand health concerns and all that,
Sure.
but I'm just wondering if in the future, especially given this is a fee that students pay, they should have input, especially
Absolutely.
without having to worry about that power dynamic of, well, I have to abide by what my boss is suggesting, right? And other people that could be above them. I do wonder if in the future there could be a little bit more input to get more broader student representation, and maybe going back to the precedent of having an ASUWT representative there,
Yes.
or at the very least reaching out. So we put students on committees all the time.
Yep.
That could have been something we could have helped out with very early on.
I think potentially having a member of ASUWT on this or have RSO involvement in this as well. I mean, a lot of, I think, and actually this I want to use this to kind of transition into my other question. Do we have has there been data collection on the effectiveness on the PAC advisors? Because I know for me personally, when I was a new student here, I personally didn't really take advantage of the PAC advisors so much. A lot of it was personal navigation. And a lot of I feel like I would personally like to see kind of what plans there are for changes in the training that PAC advisors are going to be receiving, because I think resource navigation is crucial for sure. Just general student involvement, helping. I know it would make the system more complex as well, but are PACs still assigned based on last names? I believe in the past is how it kind of functioned. Has there been maybe discussion on other, I know obviously a lot of students are coming in without a declared major, but maybe trying to get them more in line with someone that may have a PAC advisor that has more direct interest in what they want to study on the school, on campus and stuff like that, that can maybe be a more knowledgeable or helpful resource for specific students on that navigation front. These are just I don't know what the conversations have been had, but I'm just thinking, I definitely think that advisors are extremely crucial and important, especially with that navigation. And also just, I'm very in support of more student jobs on campus for sure. But I think on our part, just kind of understanding what their purpose is going to be expanded to, as well as again, some of that information on what current students from orientation have said already about maybe what how they feel PAC advisors have really helped them with the navigation, if they've really actually followed up with their PAC advisors post orientation. Because I feel like a lot of students, they know their PAC advisor from orientation, they maybe get a tour on campus with them or something like that, and probably don't really contact them past that. So I think just also understanding that part of it, I think on my end would help a lot too.
Yeah. So I'll go back to the ASUWT representative. This year was an anomaly.
Mm-hmm.
We typically have had an ASUWT representative on the committee. And so even moving forward, so to answer that, and then also to but what you asked about RSOs, that's also in the plan for next year.
Okay, great.
So the original plan was to reach out to RSOs and add them as part of the advisory committee, have an ASUWT representative as well, so we can actually have more of a robust student voice within the group. As I mentioned, this year it didn't happen in the way that it needed to, but that is moving forward. That's exactly what we want.
Mhm.
And not
It's,
have,
it's funny hearing that now because it sounded like towards the end of last year, talking to Mentha, that she
Yeah.
would do her best to keep me informed of what was going on with that committee, and that wasn't something that happened this year. So I really do think going forward, getting like our director of finance on that committee
Yeah.
from the start,
sure.
as well as any other ASUWT representatives. And we would probably appreciate at least getting some insight as to what's going on far earlier, even if the president is just on your guys' emailing list. Like I'm on plenty of email lists for meetings that I can't attend, but I check the meeting notes and that keeps me informed as well as the rest of the team informed.
Absolutely.
I did have one additional question for you too, just thinking about what the presentation was last year in terms of a lot of what you had discussed. I wish I had your slides from last year too, and I may just check the meeting minutes. But it seemed, I heard you talk about how you didn't do the NASPA training this past year. And I believe that, granted, you say that you don't need approval from us, but when ASUWT provided that approval for you guys last year, and when you talked to us about the fee increase, you talked about how that would allow for NASPA training to happen. So I'm a little bit interested about why it didn't happen in this past year due to funding concerns when the fee was increased to allow for that.
Yeah, so we didn't do it last year for a few reasons. One, we provided more funds to convocation. And then also we had staff leave as well, which was a huge barrier for the training. And so we've had an interim person in that role for the last 6 months, seven months. And so the NASPA training just didn't happen in the way that it could have because we were onboarding a new person while the current person was leaving at the same time.
Right.
And then paying attention to that funding source, that was a part of it last year, but we just couldn't make it happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds more like it's a resource in terms of staffing rather than the fee being the concern.
Right.
So then with the fee increasing this year to allow for NASPA funding, is that just to cover that staff person? Like I know you provided that slide, but could you just go over like what exactly is changing as a difference from last year's increase? Because a $50 increase is significant. I think we increased it last year too by like 25 or similar amount.
Yeah. So it is a significant amount this year. So essentially what's changing just in general is we'll be able to do the NASPA training. We're actually going to be working more with the lightweight navigational model as well, to work with faculty members, to think about, so there's another element too, that's the dialogue initiative that the University of Washington has come out with last year, that they're going to be doing training on this summer as well. So a lot of the funding that we're asking for is going to be going towards resource building, not only for the PAC advisors in their work, and also thinking about, well, what other areas can we help support that are helping students navigate the space. So it's not just solely, the money's going to PAC advisors. We're thinking about a holistic view about what their experiences are going to be.
Right.
And so that navigational tool is going to be really helpful. We're also thinking about, and not sure right now if we're going to utilize anything further, but in our online orientation process, we're considering thinking about enhancing that. So we're working with UAA for the advising and orientation revamp, essentially. So that those funds could actually go towards adding more value to the online orientation process that students are going to experience when they first start ASUWT. So there's multiple ways that we can utilize the funds, but ultimately it's going for PAC advisor training, more enhancements in their training process, going back to what your questions were, thinking about the faculty. We also, I don't know this yet, but we also have to think about if there are opportunities for faculty in the summer. Do we look at stipends for a faculty member to help with training of PAC advisors? Because we know most of them most are not on contract.
Mhm.
And so that's also something that is in play as well. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Mhm. Did either, I know I've been asking a lot of questions. Do you guys have?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I think your presentation was really good, and I like the plans that you put up there. But I'm curious to see, like, do you guys have plans for survey data at the end of orientation, and then how do you plan on implementing that feedback into the next orientation, even if it's that same year?
Yeah, we do. So every orientation, we do have a survey afterwards. And typically, we enhance the following orientation based on the initial feedback that we get from students.
Yeah.
So a prime example would be students this year after fall orientation, we're asking about more classroom connectivity in terms of orientation.
Yeah.
And so we typically will have students go on a tour and go visit their classrooms, wherever their classes are going to be.
Right.
And so in fall, or excuse me, not fall, but in spring of this year, they had a chance to actually connect with a faculty member.
Okay, cool.
So that's a small example. And other examples are thinking about the length of the orientation program as well, that students have, hey, this is too short or this is too long. And so finding a sweet spot for them, and then thinking about incorporating, because we're revamping orientation for this upcoming year, we're adding more of the advising elements, and we're partnering with them for advising in orientation. So we're adding more academic information to our orientation for this upcoming school year because students have asked for it.
Yeah. Totally.
And then we've also seen a gap in the type of information that students are getting after they meet with their advisor, after they register for their classes. There's still some information gaps that they're seeing as advisors.
Yeah.
And then some of the things that PAC advisors are seeing as well.
Yeah, the PAC advisors are awesome. And I feel like they do help students a lot. So yeah, thank you.
And I think just this is probably like my last question. So with now having sort of 2 years potentially that we've had kind of major increases in this fee, is kind of the intent with this now that we have a large increase, I mean, $50 increase, 20% increase. It's nothing to blink at, but is the intent after that then obviously like data depending and how this sort of plays out for this year, that this will kind of set the stage to where like we can go back to smaller increments just based on like rate of inflation and stuff like that in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's going into this year. That's the plan.
Okay. Yeah.
Because of how high the percentage is this year, this is the highest that we've ever asked for.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
And so I personally don't like it. But based on the needs of not only orientation programming, but also training and also partnerships, it's the direction that we need to go in.
Yeah.
But
And-
to your question, yes, moving forward, I don't anticipate having an increase for next year.
Right.
Obviously, things change, but it will be much smaller of
Right.
an incremental change if we were to ask for one next year.
Okay.
It would be nowhere near 10%,
Yeah.
honestly.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I'm curious, acknowledging that your student advisory people were PAC advisors who work under you, what were their thoughts on this $50 increase?
Honestly, the same concerns that you had. Just thinking about, wow, this is a large increase, not only on face value, but just thinking about where does that money, or where can it go? How can we support our fellow students as they enter and as we're doing our job to help them be students?
Right.
Right. So they share the same concerns that you did, or that you do share, or that you do have. And there's also an understanding of how do we break it down to where if I'm a PAC advisor, if my training isn't sufficient, how can I support the students that are coming in? And then also how am I going to be able to really partner with faculty like we are designing to in order to support the students in the classroom.
Right.
And so, yes, they were PAC advisors, and yes, they are. I'm not their direct supervisor, but they are under me. And I also value and honor their voice, which is why they're a part of this process in the first place. Yes, the positionality of it and the optics of it are the way they look. But people aren't hired on my team to just be yes people. That's just not how I work as a manager. And then the people that I manage don't work that way either. And so I'm always for pushback. I think it helps us. I think it helps us build some type of resilience, but also think more thoughtfully and be creative about what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Is there a commitment that we can hear from you about ensuring that next year and future years that there will not only be an ASUWT representative, but at-large student representation as well on this council?
Yeah, so to that point, whenever the new team starts, I want to start in the summer.
Let's do it.
Great.
So just to get it on the books now,
Mm-hmm.
and then also with this particular group, thinking about who the best fits would be in terms of clubs and RSOs. That's where my head is at, and that's why I want to start playing at ASAP.
Okay. I'll let Elias Flicka know.
Perfect.
Thank you. Did you, Nora, have any other questions? Cool. Lisa? Cool. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay. Moving down the agenda to director updates.
Session's over. Legislative session ended on Sunday, the last day. We were able to salvage financial aid to an extent. The final bill that passed for 5785, the amendments that were added actually got our position to flip from con to pro. So we codified the Washington College, to give her praise. The amendments were presented by the original sponsor of the bill, Senator Robinson, and she did codify the Washington College grant at 60% MFI, which is great. They cut down the tuition increases. I believe that they are just keeping it at the original 5% that they were originally, that was already in Washington State statute. So we will not be facing some of the big concerns that we were discussing. Another thing, there will be here soon a form going out to get policy proposals from students or input on policy proposals. So if you see an issue on campus that you would like to have policy advocated for on, or not just on campus, but at a broader higher education issue in general in Washington State, that form will be going out here soon, and that will help guide us in what we propose at Spring GA coming up in 2 weeks. And the last thing I'm going to plug is this Thursday, May 1st is May Day. There will be a May Day rally over at Tolleson Plaza, which is right across the street from the Tacoma Art Museum. It'll be at 4 p.m. There will also, from what I've been hearing, there will also be sign making in the Snoqualmie Library around the CEI and Makerspace area. So people want to go and participate in that. It's going to be a big community function. There's going to be a lot of community organizations out there and stuff as well. So mostly rallying to protect undocumented immigrants, or just really immigrants in general right now, with a lot of what we're seeing, as well as worker rights that are currently under attack. So.
Thank you, Ben.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we've got proof for that.
Okay. Yeah, I do have a little update. We did get approved for our spring allocation request from SCFC. Thank you, SCFC, for that. So yeah, we're no longer in a French deficit. So
We're
it was
not in debt anymore.
No more debt in the French. So
That helps.
yay. But yeah, that's it.
And we can bring in the incoming people to GA.
Yes, that's a really exciting thing because I think that we were trying to do this past year to bring new people to the spring GA. So this year we're now able to do that. Also, thanks to Connor for also helping me with that as well. So yeah.
Yay. Sweet. Anyone else?
2 events coming up. Thank you guys so much for participating in the events that have happened already because it's a super busy quarter. So do appreciate all of your effort and time. Next up is Block Party, May 15th. I see that Kevin and Alicia have signed up. Thank you, Alicia. If you guys could sign up, that would be great. I know that there was only a 1 hour mandatory tabling, but the more the merrier.
I just
So
haven't looked at it yet. Sorry.
it's okay. And then the end of year bash is going to be really big too. This is Moira's event, so I hope that we can really rally for for her and for the rest of the campus also. So
I hope maybe we can talk to Hugo to get senators going so he can mention in his chair updates.
okay.
Yeah, no, you're good, you're good. Vicer updates. Looking all coy.
I thought there were more updates.
Just promote Oscars, but you can no.
Oh my God.
So aggressive.
Sorry, it's a week. So as Buddy was saying, the Oscars are on Friday. So please come out, enjoy. There's food coming. I just confirmed the order. It looks wonderful. And we have a wonderful night planned. This space will be offline from Thursday through Friday, so we can get ready for it. But please, the dress code is dress to impress, which means whatever you want. Just come clothed. So it's always a good thing.
Impressively bad.
Yeah. So we'll have a wonderful night to celebrate all the achievements. Even though it's early in May, this year we are kind of marking it as a kickoff to celebration season. We've got a lot of great stuff coming for graduates, for everyone completing their year, and for the achievements that you've all made. So please come and support and celebrate, not just student government, but everything else y'all been working on. This month is, even though we tried doing things early, it's hectic. There's lots of stuff coming out of the Council for Campus Engagement funding sources. We've got a few events. Block Party is on the 15th, as Mariah mentioned, so please support if you can. And Sam, shout out to, and Kylie are currently planning that wonderful event. So please put all the positive energy out for a sunny day that day. It will happen rain or shine, so we're gonna be excited. And lastly, I know I have been delayed on reviewing them, but I've gotten most of the STOL forms and I'm currently figuring out how it's going to work, but we have enough STOLs to cover everyone to have one for when they need it, So I will confirm those most likely on Monday. Just let me get through this week. Other than that, thanks.
Do we get to dunk you at Block Party? And the answer is yes.
Really warm.
If it's warm and you pay money.
We can't,
Oh, yeah.
we can't
How
pay you.
much?
Donations.
Dunk the Dola at Block Party.
Dunk the Dola.
I like Dunk the Advisor too.
Dunk the Advisor. That doesn't sound nice at all.
Is there a motion?
No, don't even think about it.
Connor, is Oscars this Friday?
Yes.
Oh, I
Oh,
had it
boy.
wrong in my calendar. I had it for next Friday.
Yes, no, it's May 2nd. May's on Thursday, as Ben said. That's crazy that's
Yeah.
happening, but it is on the 2nd. So please make sure to put in your planners.
Chair updates, elections happened, Constitution passed. So
Yay.
big yays to that. We'll now have a Senate that's double the size and 3 new directors. So that's very, very exciting.
Also, our ledge team might be growing.
Our ledge team is growing
Is growing,
because campus organizer is included too. So
Oh,
Oh, right.
yeah.
we're good.
I'll also quickly add that if you see Melissa, please congratulate her. She tripled the
Oh,
amount
yeah.
of people who voted and almost got 10% of the campus. So she set up a great foundation and her team really worked hard to do that. So
Involvement in general this year has been fantastic. Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, in the maker space, we talked about some presidents were asking to out pictures. Oh, sorry. But yeah, I was here by the makerspace as well. I was like, dang, it's really getting advertised. I love it. Love to hear it.
I know this year was great. Melissa did a really good job, and I know her and the elections committee is going to be reviewing the elections bylaws and making some recommendations. I don't know if it will come to this board in order to approve, but it may be something that gets kicked to next year's administration as recommendations, but that's also undergoing as well.
Nice.
Two other quick things. I know we're getting close to the end. Remember that we have our executive board retreat that's going to be taking place on May 17th, where we're going to be going over everyone's legacy documents, and I am expecting a close to final draft from everyone. So do not have it's in your guys' calendar.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
So make sure you guys have more than just a couple bullet points. Please don't do what my predecessor did and just had one page of bullet point notes. I'm dead serious. So we're having actual legacy documents. Come prepared to discuss with those. Finally, I hope I didn't just forget it. So with the new election, we did pass that bylaw that made it so we can hire for next year's administration should they give us permission. Once I get confirmation from Connor that the president, vice president, and internal affairs candidates have accepted their roles, I will be meeting with them with the current vice president and internal affairs positions, and we will be discussing about which positions, if any at all, to hire for in this current year's administration. So that means advertising for it, that means interviewing for it, and voting for them.
I approve the hiring of the ledge team now.
So that may be coming up for us in the next few weeks as we wrap up our term with 45 days left.
Ooh.
Will you be sending me information
Yes,
about
once
that? Okay.
once I get confirmation from them, then we'll be good.
45 days? Month and a half?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Quick add-on. Sorry, I just got an email that I need to ask. Ben Mock is asking for feedback for the Husky Market from students. Not right now, but in a focus group setting, can I potentially ask the food basic needs group to meet with him?
Yeah, so we're going to tell them they're price gouging and we can prove it.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
But they would want more than just that committee, so maybe some other students involved too.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have people.
Cool. Can I
And
task?
they will
happily,
also-
I'll happily.
Can I
Is that
task student government with that?
Yes, can you forward the email to me and we'll
I
take care of it.
will.
Perfect. I've been looking forward to this opportunity.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Okay, that being said, is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn this meeting.
Moved by Ben, seconded by Moira. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Goodbye.
Bye.